In the heart of North Carolina, where the tapestry of folklore weaves tales as old as the land itself, whispers of encounters with the Dogman echo from the mountain peaks to the coastal shores. This elusive figure, part human, part canine, maybe, has long stirred both fascination and trepidation among locals, etching its presence into the very fabric of the state's mystique. Those who claim to have crossed paths with the Dogman recount chilling narratives that range from a fleeting glimpse in the shadows to horrifying encounters under the cloak of night. Despite skeptics' attempts to rationalize these sightings as mere tricks of the mind or misrepresentations of wildlife, the persistence of these stories only deepens the shroud of mystery surrounding this creature. Whether rooted in tangible encounters with an otherworldly being or born from the fertile soil of myth and legend, the lore of the Dogman has become an indelible part of North Carolina's cultural tapestry. The Dogman's presence continues to beckon the curious and caution the weary, adding an eerie allure to the already mystical landscape of the old Tar Heel state. Join us now as we dive deeper and share stories from North Carolina Dogman encounters. This happened in Robeson County. It was sometime in July, around 1990, I guess, if I can remember correctly. I was around 9 years old. We were at my mom's friend's house because they were having a little party. My mom's best friend at the time decided to go get something, which was at a nearby house down a long dirt road in the woods. My mom's friend decided to take me and another friend with her. I wish I'd have never gone with her. We rode with her over there, and when she got out, my friend and I stayed in her car and waited for her to come back. After sitting in her car for, I guess, maybe 10 minutes, we were none, so we decided we had to get out and figure out why it was taking her forever. When we did that, she told us to get back in the car, so we did. As it turns out, she was in the house buying weed, so we weren't exactly welcomed in the house. So my buddy and I got back in the car and waited for her to come out. They had a lot of bulldogs on that property. The dogs were all barking like crazy. And then all of a sudden, they just stopped all at once. And they all went into their little dog houses. That's when my friend and we saw this thing. It looked like some kind of werewolf, except it was standing upright and it was coming from behind the car. We just froze and just stared at it. I ain't lying. I thought I was going to wet myself right then and there. I was so scared. It looked so demonic. So when we saw it, we ducked down and laid on the floorboards. We laid there for what seemed forever, until we heard my mom's friend hitting on the driver's window, trying to get us to let her in. I guess it left when it heard her come outside of the house or something. Either way, I'll never forget that. The night I had my encounter, it was in April of 2017, around 2:30 a.m. That night it was unusually slow. During the slow parts of my night, I'd park outside the facility I worked out of and just watch the wildlife. It was so abundant, a mixture of fox, coyotes, raccoons, and every now and again, I'd see a red wolf breaking the woodline, trotting across the open field in search of small game. Our facility is located on a dead-end street, which backs up to a major creek and to the left. We have a small creek that breaks off of the larger one. Both creeks are fed by a large river, about a mile away. I should also mention we have large patches of woodland that lead to our facility, and that area doesn't have a lot of light until you turn directly into the parking area. About a week prior to my encounter, I would sit at the end of the road to complete my paperwork and wait for the next call to come in. As I would park there, I started to get a sense of being watched. I would look up almost expecting to see someone standing in front of my truck. And for the record, let me just say the darkness or the woods, they don't spook me or make me jumpy. Hell, I was raised in the swamp, close to a river, and I enjoy the solitude of it all. But not only did I have a sense of being watched and sharing my space with someone or something, I noted there was no normal night sounds, such as crickets and frogs. I also found it baffling that all the woodlife seemed to be gone from that area. That really bothered me. I just couldn't figure it out. On the night I had my encounter, I decided to leave some wet dog food at the edge of the woodline, hoping to entice a family of raccoons out. I just wanted to see if they were okay. This family of raccoons, I'd watch them grow up, and not seeing them really bothered me. Also, I noticed I didn't see a gray fox that would hang around the area. This fox would come within 4 or 5 feet from you. It was guarded, but he would hang out with certain people and then retreat back into the woods. Anyway, I popped the top off of some really cheap, smelly dog food, and I was pulling the top off the can. I heard a deep growl come from out of the edge of the woodline. I'd never heard an animal growl like that. It was with so much force and so deep. At first, I thought it must have been a jake brake from the interstate. But that just wasn't the case. I could feel it and hear it coming directly from the woodline. It was hitting my face, and I could feel that growl inside my chest, like a deep vibration. And I knew this wasn't a bear. You know, same way you know your left hand from your right. You just know. And yeah, we do have bear here, but I can tell you quite bluntly and very firmly, this was not a bear or any other wildlife that's normal to that area. I dropped my head down and I refused to look up. I dumped that can of dog food on the ground with one hard thump, hoping whatever was in that woodline would rather have that can of food instead of me. I backed away with my head down until I reached my truck. My instinct told me to drive away, and that's just what I did. About a half an hour later, I returned. My curiosity had gotten the better of me, completely overruling my common sense. I'm a natural skeptic, so I was prepared to figure out what had happened earlier. I parked in the same spot, and this time I walked to the back of my truck for a smoke break. While standing there, I observed a dark mass coming across the road, and I watched it disappear into an open field that's mostly overgrown with blackberry bushes and grass. I have a trained eye. I take in a lot of detail, and still, well, I admit to suffering from short-term memory loss due to an accident that ended my law enforcement career. But what I saw at that moment, though, that is burned in my memory forever. I can only describe that creature as what I saw. It was some kind of hybrid. Although it was on all fours, it didn't appear natural. It moved with a very quick and fluid movements. Looking back, I'm most surprised that the creature had the intelligence to attempt to appear natural. But something was off with its gait. It was kind of like the front legs were pulling its body forward. The back was hunched at the shoulders, and it had a long back. The creature was black. I can only describe it as a dark mass with no reflection. I also noted it had a small animal in its mouth. The strange part was I could see the definition of most of the small animal compared to the darkness of the creature that I now believe to be a Dogman. The snout was long but fit its body, what struck me so odd was its ears. They were folded back like you might see on a Dutch Shepherd or a German Shepherd. I guess with my background working with dogs, the ears were clearly defined to me. I can't say what kind of tail it had or even what color its eyes were. I just know it was there 1 minute and gone the next. When daylight came, I went looking for tracks, but I decided to listen to my gut, and I didn't go in that field looking for it. The ground leading out of that smaller creek was covered in grass, and what dirt was there was hard. I was baffled, but more amazed than anything. I sat on my experience for several months. I just didn't tell anybody about it. I started researching, scouring the internet for what I'd seen. I guess in my mind, I wondered if it was some type of hybrid, created by man in a lab and it had escaped. I found several sites on the internet, but none seemed to come close to what I've seen. Nothing at all, until I came across a picture of a Dogman. If you take what I saw and stand it upright instead of it being on all fours, well, that's what I saw, a Dogman, without a doubt. I'm pretty sure this Dogman must have been a young adult. It wasn't overly massive, and what I think about the most is the fact that this Dogman had to have caught my scent before clearing that woodline. And I know scent. I know how it works. That Dogman knew I was there before coming out of the woods. I suppose that would be an answer I'll never have. But anyway, after a few months of keeping my experience to myself, I spoke with a few of my coworkers. Of course, they told me it was a bear or a large wolf, but they did acknowledge that wildlife had disappeared for a while. I was told to share my story, but I think it was only one of my coworkers could get a good laugh at me behind my back. I stand by what I saw, although I don't talk much about it because of people like my asshole coworker. I ain't never been fascinated by Bigfoot or any other animal like that. Although I did respond to a Bigfoot call off the record for a law enforcement friend. That's a story in itself. But at this point, I'm consumed by what I saw. And as I write this, I am once again on night shift, parked at the same spot I had my encounter. I'm pretty sure that Dogman has left the area. Wildlife is back and the night sounds are all around. I guess I'll always wonder if it will come back again. But I can't say I'll ever walk the woods at night again. When I lived in the Grove area, connected to Kings Mountain, just west of Charlotte, North Carolina, a friend and I, we were in the backyard chopping on a tree because we were just bored. We were only 13, maybe 14 at the time. He just stopped chopping and started staring off into the woodline. He then started to whisper my name about 3 times. He grabbed my arm and I turned around and said, "What?" And that's when I saw it too. It was well over 6 foot tall, humanoid looking, like a dog or a wolf creature, standing on its hind legs, one hand on a tree, staring out down the woodline. We looked at this for maybe 20 seconds until it turned its head and looked our way. We both dropped our machetes and ran into the house, totally freaking out. Looking out the bathroom window that overlooks where we were, it was gone. It must have moved off after we started running. I believe that because we couldn't see it anymore. We stayed in the house for a whole week. No one believed us at the time. That's well over 14 years ago. My buddy and I, we still talk about it sometimes, but he doesn't want to go back into detail about it and what we saw that day. Who knows? Maybe those machetes are still laying there.